ignited a ski resort bar fire. It killed at least 40 people on New Year's Eve. CBS's Raimi Inocencio.
We were told that actually there's only one entrance and one exit. And the Forensics Institute is also going to look into a possible penal case against the owners here for possible negligence.
The world's best-selling electric vehicle is not a Tesla. The crown goes to Chinese EV maker BYD. CBS's Michael Wallace.
Tesla sales fell short of estimates during the fourth quarter after the Trump administration phased out a $7,500 tax credit for EVs.
The FBI says it stopped a plot by an 18-year-old inspired by ISIS to attack a North Carolina grocery store and a fast food restaurant on New Year's Eve. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson.
You have the suspect being very specific about, these are the weapons that I want to use, this is where I want to use them, and this is the time I want to use them.
CBS News Brief, I'm Jennifer Kuiper.
Every weekday at 9:20 a.m. on KCBS, we're giving you direct access to top experts in various fields. Today, there are 350 medications set to raise their prices for U.S. patients. The stress on American healthcare costs come as the Trump administration's top health officials call on drug makers to relieve the pressure. To tell us more, our KCBS Steve Scott spoke with Dr. Ben Ippolito, a senior fellow in economic policy studies at the American Enterprise Institute, where he researches the pharmaceutical market, health economics, and more.
KCBS listener Leo asks, where does universal health care fit into these discussions? Perhaps that's a reference to what we talked about earlier, where other countries, people pay less, countries that may have universal health care.
Yeah, that's right. Universal healthcare, in the most simplest sort of form, really talks about coverage, right? Ensuring that everybody has insurance coverage and it comes with a certain amount of access. The United States does not have universal coverage in that formal sense, although we are relatively close. The vast majority of the country has formal insurance. That said, I think the bigger issue is about how insurance covers drugs and how those prices are set. You know, the vast majority of people who are concerned about drug pricing have insurance. And what they're saying is that even when I use my insurance coverage, I still have, for example, a high out-of-pocket cost. And so that, to me, I think is a more important thing than just pure coverage, although greater coverage obviously helps. Other countries, the other thing to remember is that they generally have some version of a system where the government is able to essentially regulate the prices and the structure of insurance for everybody. The United States is a little bit different. We have this big hodgepodge of public programs and private markets and so on. And so it is a little bit more complicated to effectuate some of the changes people might want.
Another listener question, what is the role of advertising when it comes to these new drugs? Do you feel patients are misled by the marketing side of the pharma industry?
Yeah, it's a good question. The United States is unusual in the sense that we allow drug companies to advertise. I'm conflicted on this because in a normal market, there's nothing really wrong with advertising if you think that people are getting sincere information about, for example, a new treatment for some condition that you might have. Maybe it's spurring to go to your doctor and actually ask about it and see if that's something that might help improve your health and your well-being and so on. And so from that perspective, I think it seems fine. There are some concerns, I think, that maybe that affects consumer behavior in ways that
9RRG365.
some people worry about. I'm not too worried about it myself, because ultimately you still have to get your doctor to prescribe something and your insurance to cover it. But we are unusual in that respect. There are a lot of people who are interested in stopping that. I'm not 100% sure whether that's a good or a bad thing, but it is an active policy discussion.
All right, we have another question here. What kind of things should Medicare beneficiaries keep in mind in 2026 as it pertains to rising medication costs?
That's an excellent question. The background here is that the Inflation Reduction Act introduced several big changes to the way that prescription drug coverage works in Medicare. Among other things, it introduced a new out-of-pocket limit for people, so that provides more financial security. I will say, though, that market has been there's been some turbulence in that market, with insurers leaving, plans leaving, people having fewer choice. If I were on Medicare, I would take a hard look at my insurance plan to ensure that, number one, the plan I had last year didn't leave the market, and if it did, ensure that you pick a new plan that's suitable for you. And secondly, take